Om Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Om Bhagavate Shri Swami Narayanaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Lakshmi Narayanaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Krishna Narayanaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Rama Narayanaya Namo Namaha Om Shri Shiva Narayanaya Namo Namaha Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Shri Sadgurubhyo Namo Namaha
Recording in progress.
Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiya Mamrutat Om Namah Shivaya Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our contemplation on what is Vasana. See, we just saw a beautiful video, about 6 minutes long, on very nice and very succinct description of what is Vasana. It is unmanifested desire. It is a force. In the Lalita Sahasranam, one of the names, the divine names of the great goddess of the Mool Prakriti, Bhagavati, is Vasana Shaktaye Namaha. So I want to talk about this one word just today to understand this a bit further. If you remember, in the program that I have developed over the past several years, the Energy Personal Excellence Program, for the whole world, it's open for everybody. The concept behind it is that we have tremendous amount of energy within us. This, nobody can deny this. Whether one believes in God, doesn't believe in God, one has faith, doesn't have faith, one is atheist, one is theist, one is Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Buddhist, anything, young, old, everybody has energy. There is no life without energy. Energy is a type of life. Life is energy. That is called Shakti. In Sanskrit, we say Shakti. Other languages will have other names for that. So, Vasana Shaktaye Namaha is one of the divine names, the Divya Naam of Devi Mool Prakriti, that is the Mahashakti. What is this? What does this mean exactly? So remember, each of these ideas, or what is being expressed here, is at two levels. One is at our level in our life and its application in our own experience. And then the same idea or the same truth is available at the cosmic level. That's the second level. There's actually one more level beyond that. And the third level is the transcosmic, beyond the cosmos, beyond the manifested universe. Third level is there. That is called actually the level of the divine worlds. And then there's actually a level beyond that also. And that is a level of the formless Nirakara Akshara Brahma. And within that everything exists as Nirakara Akshar. Then there's also Sakar Akshar and Paramatma. Those are higher developments in Vedanta. So there are these further and further realizations of the same idea, of the same truth. Because truth of any kind is one, but it manifests in millions of different ways. Ekam sat vipraha bahuda vadanti. So even the subject of Vasana, for example, as we're contemplating now, as we have just begun our contemplation, this is a very vast area of research in many ways, from psychology, neuropsychology. It is a massive area of research in addictions. It is a massive area of internal research for the sadhaka. So Sachin is trying to realize the Atma. What is the Atma? As we just heard in the talk today, that once you realize that which you are, Soham, the divinity, the Atma Tattva, then there is really no force of the Vasana, even though there are activities that continue in the enlightened state. But those activities are not how we are performing activity through the layer of the Vasana. That activity is performed as grace, as seva, as krupa, as a state of full, just flowing of divinity through the body and the mind of that great reality. That is God. That is our goal. Our goal is that, what is the goal ultimately? Dheyo Narayano Hari, that Bhagwan Narayan is the goal, God is the goal. Call any name you want. Names are many, Nami is one. Nam, Nami. Names of God are many. Ways of descriptions are many, but the Tattva is only one, not two. So, our goal is to evolve out of the limitations of vasanas. That is our goal. My goal, your goal, anybody who wants to realize the Atma has to cross the layer of the vasanas. Now, we want to go systematically, carefully, because I have a tendency to go very fast and I'm trying to avoid that. So it's one of those things that this kind of subject that I may talk very fast, but I don't want to do that. I want to go slowly, carefully, because this is not something to rush through. So first of all, let's look at our life right now. We will see very clearly everything we do has a motive force. Right now, even by me talking right now, what is the motive? There is some motive. That Sachin wants to grow spiritually, wants to present something, wants to go into dialogue, whatever my thoughts are. There's a motive force. Without motive force, that is ichha, desire, without that, no action can be done. No action of any kind can be done unless there is a motivating force. If we eliminate all motivating forces, one is an inactive individual, not able to do anything. Like somebody who's in a coma, like a brain coma or something. What they can do? They're not even aware of anything. There's no activity of any kind. So, to understand what is Vasana Shaktiye Namaha, Vasana Shakti, the energy within Vasana, that is the driving power that allows the latent, unmanifested desires to ultimately become manifested. Now you will notice even in the talk we heard, that lady, she did not talk about the energy. You will notice this again and again. All of these gurus and teachers, 99% of them, they ignore energy or they do not directly talk about it. Because the moment they talk about it, what happens is that you are going to be faced with it directly. And I don't know why they don't talk about it. I don't want to judge them, but in my opinion, that is a massive limitation. Even the greatest of so many gurus are there, they don't talk about energy directly. And it is the thing to talk about, because without that, nothing is going to happen. We can talk about vasanas and the mind and the body and everything else, panchakoshas, until we're green in the face. What about the energy that is behind all of that? What to do with that energy? This is why Shakti Upasana has been ignored in the Sanatana Dharma by so many gurus. The reason behind, they have only touched upon it lightly, indirectly. Because, and there's a reason, I'm not criticizing them, please understand. There's a reason behind that. If you touch it directly, you have to be able to handle what comes directly. That's the whole point. That is why most of the gurus, Sadgurus, they have indirectly touched upon it. Shakti, the power directly. Alright, so you will notice that even those who are not worshipping the goddess, whichever tradition, who are not even talking about energy, whatever they're doing can only be possible because there is energy. Anything that happens within the body itself, the mind itself, the panchakoshas, the waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, the vasanas, the expression of the vasanas, the innumerable desires, none of that is possible without energy. No bhakti is possible, jnana is not possible, even the state of vairagya, the going beyond the raga and dvesha, What is that? It is an energy harnessing phenomena. But the reason, this is just my perspective, and I may not be correct about this, but I'll share it anyway. I think the reason why so many gurus do not directly talk about the Shakti Upasa, like Bij mantras and all. Why? Because once you start doing that sadhana, it is going to open up your desires further. Let's be clear about this point. When we say Vasana Shaktaye Namaha, it means that there is, first of all, it means that there is energy in your vasanas, in your desires. Is it true or not? Sachin has desired to eat an apple pie. Okay, I have a memory of my apple pie. We talked about that last couple of days. We'll talk more about it. But then the thought comes, that not just the thought, the ichha, desire pops. Oh, I want that experience. This happens to us every day. And if it didn't happen, how will we live? What kind of life will we have? We will not have our ordinary life even that we have. Either we will have a life of upsham, as I mentioned before, where you're just retracted and very minimal interaction is there, and you're mostly in samadhi, state of samadhi. Some yogis are, or one would be in tamogun. Is one or the other. So that both of these are not a possibility for the masses of humanity. That state of upsham that Gopalan Swami is talking about in his talks, in his life, that was something that was a yogic state for him, that you're close to the Atma, you're right near the Atma. Those who are retracted from the sansar, who are just doing 24 hours dhyan, they have some food, they eat a little bit here and there just to keep the body alive. They're not interested in anything. They're not interested in anything except that nirvikalpa samadhi. Beyond the Sahasrara Chakra, they're not interested in their body also. But somehow their disciples, like Guru Dattatreya, for example, he was at such a stage of this kind of upsham and nirvikalpa state that the disciples were putting food in his mouth so the body will stay alive. Otherwise the body will go. So that is a very different thing altogether. That is something that is not at the human level. And those kinds of beings that are coming, they are nothing but the Akshara Brahma, the Brahma Tattva in the human form. They don't have any causal body. They don't have like our kind of life. We want this thing and that thing, and our mind is jumping in 10 different directions, and we have family, and we have kids, and we have jobs, and that's not Guru Dattatreya. That is not Sajanand Swami. That is, that is not Shankaracharya. These people, they are in a totally different realm. And it is not possible for us to live that kind of life in this world. Because we try to do that, we will not be able to live in this world, first of all. So we need something called Jnana Samadhi. This is where Bhagwan Swaminarayan, he made this point very clear. He emphasized what is called Jnana or Jnana Samadhi as more significant than that other one that I just described, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Because once vasanas are transgressed completely, what is the motivating force? To do what? Like in Ramakrishna Paramahansa, he said, I have left everything. All vasanas are gone. Nothing is there. But he deliberately activated one of them, that was the sense of taste. Rasasvad. He said, if I leave this one, my body will be gone. Within 12 days it will go. And that's what happened. At one point he left. He told his wife, Sharada Devi, that I'm leaving this sense of desire. That she knew that he's not going to live much longer. And he died just some days afterwards. Or the body was left, let's put it this way. Body cannot even be manifested without some desire. It's like that example with the gold, If you have 100% gold, you cannot fashion it into an ornament. You have to have another metal inside there to fashion into ornament. 100% gold without any ornament, it will not even hold a shape. Not long. It might hold some shape for some time. It will not hold shape. You have to put a little bit of some other metal in there so it can hold the shape. Similarly, those sages that are at the peak of the highest levels of Brahmic state, the body itself is not something that can remain unless there is some desire active somewhere. Very important thing to recognize. Now, this is at the very high stage, ultimate stage. Those beings, I just want to say something about that. By the will of the divine, automatically people come around them to take care of them. They don't have to do anything to take care of the body. They're living manifested Brahman, living manifestation of God. So because of that, and because people around them can see that this being is not like us, something is totally different about this person. So then they recognize, the devotees, the other people who come to such a being, they recognize that this person doesn't have any worldly desire, is only here to bless and to give the spiritual wisdom. They recognize that from inside. That's what happened in Ramakrishna Paramahansa's life. That's what happened in so many saints' life, particularly in India, but it's not just in India, it's throughout the world. When a being begins to evolve into the Brahmic state beyond all the vasanas, automatically group of people gets formed around that individual. Not for hero worship and not to personality worship. That is not the reason. Because there is a living dynamics, pure Adhyatma being manifested there. This is very different, very, very different from those who are just giving exposition on scriptures, giving nirupana, giving discourses. That's good, all good things. Beautiful, doing research, doing different sadhanas, having even organizations encouraging people to do sadhana. All that is all fine, beautiful. That's all good. But remember that there are what are called gunatit sages. Gunatit sage could be anybody. It's not about just language and wisdom, although the wisdom is there. But remember, wisdom, how can I say? They are Brahma Swarupa. What they're speaking from direct anubhav. They're not speaking simply from a second-hand repetition. Nij anubhav se bolte hai. They may use scriptures. They do give references. But they're doing that, but what they're speaking is coming from inside. It is not simply regurgitation and reformulation of what others have stated. Like for example, here Sachin can say, okay, Mahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanavanam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Okay, beautiful Sanskrit verse in the Gita. Somebody, oh Sachin, you know Sanskrit, you know this, you're whatever, you're very knowledgeable, Bahut Gyani. No. Wrong. Totally wrong. Maybe, but you cannot judge somebody because they speak a Sanskrit verse. Somebody can take a Sanskrit verse and speak for 100 hours on that. So what? That's a good thing. We respect that. We can gain a lot from that. The person speaking also gains a lot from it. But that is not necessarily an indication of spiritual enlightenment. See, in Vachanamrut, Bhagavan Swaminarayan, he gave a fantastic way to detect an enlightened being. He says, there's a discussion about something called Manomaya Chakrani Dhara. So Muktanand Swami, I think, has asked the question to Maharaj at that time, what is this Manomaya Chakra? This is described actually in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So you will see in Vachanamrut, it is an extract of all these scriptures, and these questions or answers going on. Because they are studying those scriptures day and night. Hundreds of them. That was the environment at that time. It's a different subject altogether. So Maharaj, meaning Sajanand Swami, he is as in the role of a devotee, in the role of a Sadguru, he is a teacher. He is teaching. He is also encouraging others to ask questions, to contemplate again and again. It is a back and forth. that goes on all the time. And there's bhajan kirtan that goes on, and then there's this back and forth question, answer, and contemplation. And living life of that type of dialogue, of contemplation, of mutual respect, love, how beautiful. It's like pure ananda. That is the height of human existence, when we can do such things. So anyway, there is a question that is asked there about how to recognize this enlightened being. And so Maharaj answered this question this way. The question actually began with, what is Manomaya Chakra? Now, of course, we have all these 9 chakras in the body. That is one thing. So Manomaya Chakra is actually the function of the senses connected to the mind in relation to all of the Panch Vishayas outside. So we can see that at any given time in our waking state, our mind is active with the 5 senses all the time. And so each sense is called dhara. Dhara in the sense that it is a flow of interaction with the outside object. So the Manomaya Chakra is basically the mind revolving fast. Speed of the mind is tremendous. It is revolving around the Panch Vishayas again and again and again and again. Right? This is true. Now, I want to mention something here before I get to that answer that Maharaj gave. That ability to revolve in the Panch Vishayas, that ability of the mind, or the capability of the mind to have that purview of the outside world, Bhautik Jagata, that is possible because we are alive through energy. That is Shakti. And any action we do is motivated somewhere along the line through some kind of desire. That is the Vasana Shakti. So the energy that is raw and infinite gets connected inside the physical body, embedded within the physical body, mind, and the individual. And the force, the Vasana, it concentrates that energy and then pushes the individual to perform certain action. That is called Vasana Shakti. Now, if we are worshipping any form of God, any way we are worshipping God, we are using energy to do bhakti. That is a worship. We cannot do bhakti without energy. Nobody can. Impossible. We can't do anything without energy. So when we are using energy for bhakti, we are taking the energy that is in the vasanas and changing their direction towards Paramatma. Changing the direction of that energy. Now this is interesting. In Vachanamrut, Bhagwan Swaminarayan, the way he mentioned this, he said that when a human being, anybody, goes close to an enlightened being, like I was mentioning Guru Dattatreya, Bhagwan Kapil, Bhagwan Krishna, whoever is the enlightened sages, Jesus, whoever they are, Bhagwan ke Sant, when you go near them, your mind it becomes naturally still. Manomaya Chakrani Dhara Kuntit Thai Jai. Tya Kalyan Ichhu. Maharaj said, when you come across an individual, in the presence of the individual, where the spinning of the mind in the Vishayas and in the world settles down completely. When that happens, you recognize that is a being who is manifesting God. God is manifested there. And through such a being who's a Satpurush, a Mahapurush, he said that is the connector into the Moksha Kalyana. Why? Why is that the connector? Because that state of that being is our goal also. So the more we resonate with that state, with that great silence and purity, and so many amazing things are there when you are near an awakened being. Then, this is what I was mentioning, when awakening happens, Prakriti herself will bring those people who are resonating with that being in that way, and then allow for the evolution to go forward of everybody. That happens automatically. It doesn't mean that that person is deliberately trying to gather disciples and stuff like that. It doesn't happen. I mean, yeah, there are people do prachar and all that. I'm not talking about that. That's a different matter. The actual evolution, it's like when the sun is shining bright. It shines for everybody. It just shines. The awakened being, the Gunatit saint, Gunatit Sant, Gunatit state, beyond the three gunas of Maya, is an awakened state that is sustained, and anybody going near will be touched by something extraordinary there. Difficult to describe, very hard to describe, very difficult to describe. Anubhav ki baat hai. You see, when we also talk about like holy places, right? We go into like a very ancient church where a lot of devotion is done. We have so many temples in India, like the Shakti Peeth and other temples are there, where so much bhakti and devotion is done. As soon as you go inside there, you feel something different. You feel like, my God, what is this? This is some different vibration, some divinity. Why? Because the sadhana is done. There's continuous maintenance of that higher vibration. And that helps us get out of that vortex of the vasanas. I use the word vortex a lot because a vortex is a spinning very fast, like a phenomena. So Vasana Shaktaye Namaha. Namaha means to bow down to. Now this is an interesting point. We recognize the power of Vasana, and when we recognize the power within the desires, we are respecting, adoring. We are fascinated with the power behind all of the manifestation of the vasanas. That power is where when we begin to evolve into that power, then the bridge opens into the Atma. Actually, it begins to open. This is what happened with Ramakrishna Paramahans. And it will happen with anybody who goes into that reality. That the energies begin to awaken from inside. Bhagwan Swaminarayan also mentioned this in Vedas. This is written by also Shankaracharya ji in the Saundarya Lahari. This is written by so many people. Anybody, it's going to happen to anybody who moves into the higher realization. Your internal power that is dormant is going to awaken and enliven all the chakras. And when the chakras begin to open, all of the divine manifestation begins to be revealed. So when a sage dives into the glory of the spiritual dimension, activity is still performed, but that activity, that person is no longer performing activity like we perform activity. They still may work somewhere, they might do some certain things, but the reality changes around them so that their purpose is fulfilled, so that the world that needs their light gets that light. This has happened with you look at the whole history of the saints of India, for example. Every one of them this is what has happened. Some of them were householders, it happened. Some of them were tyagis, it happened. Some of them were children, it happened. Some of them were at the older age, like Tulsi Das ji, it happened. He was 90 years old when he wrote the Tulsi Ramayana. It can happen to anybody at any time. But when it actually occurs, then the reality around the Prakriti resets, it becomes divine. It resonates with that Mahapurusha. So these are some thoughts for today. We will continue on this in many different ways, in additional ways further. There's so much to be said about what is the vasana, what is the connection to the Atma, and our own life realization. Right? So let's stop here for now.